My name is Sloan, and this is the story of the night my family finally made it clear I didn't belong. I arrived at my sister's wedding expecting to celebrate, to smile for the cameras, to do what I had always done, play the role of the good daughter. But from the moment I stepped inside, something felt wrong. And then I saw it, my seat. Not at the family table, not even inside the main hall, but pushed outside near the coat racks. At first, I assumed it was a mistake, but it wasn't. It was a message that said, "You do not matter." And here is the truth about pushing someone aside for too long. Eventually, they stop trying to fit in. So that night, I made a decision, and what happened next shocked everyone. I pulled into the venue parking lot, my fingers gripping the steering wheel too tightly. A five-star ballroom in the heart of Chicago, filled with sparkling chandeliers, marble floors, and floral arrangements worth more than my rent. Everything about the wedding screamed luxury, everything except my presence. Taking a deep breath, I stepped out of the car, smoothing my navy blue dress. I was not there to cause a scene. I was not there to make it about me. It was Odessa's day, and I had accepted long ago that I was not the favorite sibling. I just never expected them to remind me in such a public, humiliating way. Inside, a wedding planner with an overly bright smile greeted me at the check-in table. "Name," she chirped. "Sloan." My voice sounded calm, controlled. "Sloan Hathaway." Her smile faltered slightly. My stomach tightened as she searched the seating chart. Then I saw it flicker across her face. Pity. I knew that look, and I hated it. "Oh yes, here you are," she said, handing me a small place card. "You are seated over here." She hesitated, then gestured toward a hallway just outside the grand ballroom. I frowned and asked for clarification. She forced another smile and said my table was just outside the main reception area. My eyes moved to the large seating chart beside her. Vivian and Harold Hathaway, my parents, were seated front and center, beside the bride and groom, Odessa's closest friends, Dominic's distant relatives, even coworkers and girlfriends all had seats inside. My name was missing. I looked back at the planner and said there had to be a mistake. Her smile tightened, and she said that was my assigned seat. A slow heat spread through my chest. Not even at a distant table inside the ballroom. They had placed me in the hallway, like an afterthought, like someone included out of obligation, not family. Still, I clung to the foolish hope that it was an oversight, that maybe my own mother had not allowed this to happen. I saw her across the room, standing beside Odessa, glowing with pride as she adjusted her dress. My sister looked radiant, perfect, adored as she always had. Odessa met my eyes, tilted her head, and smirked. That smirk told me everything. I forced myself forward and called to my mother, keeping my tone light, asking if I could speak with her for a moment. Vivian barely looked at me and said now was not the time, and that they were busy. I said it would only take a second. She sighed, annoyed, but stepped aside. Odessa did not move. She only watched, her smirk widening. I told my mother I had checked my seat and it was in the hallway. Vivian made a dismissive sound and said they had to prioritize immediate family at the main tables. I stared at her and said I was immediate family. She laughed lightly as if I were being ridiculous and told me not to be dramatic. Odessa finally spoke, asking if my seat had been messed up, saying how unfortunate that was and how chaotic wedding planning could be with so many details. Her voice was coated in false sympathy, and her eyes gleamed with amusement. She knew this was intentional. I looked back at my mother and asked if she truly thought it was acceptable for me to be seated outside the reception hall, away from everyone. Vivian sighed, clearly tired of the conversation, and told me not to make a big deal out of it because it was Odessa's special day and that I should be grateful. The word grateful stuck in my throat, bitter and heavy. Grateful for being treated like a second-class guest at my own sister's wedding? Grateful for being pushed aside, forgotten, and diminished? I wanted to speak, but my father, Harold, finally intervened, saying it was just seating and not to ruin the mood without even looking at me. That was all he offered, and I did not respond, because there was no point. Another voice interrupted, commenting that it was an interesting arrangement. I turned to see Celeste, Dominic's mother, nearby, holding a glass of champagne. Her eyes moved from Odessa to me, her expression unreadable. Odessa stiffened, and Vivian offered a practiced smile, saying how difficult wedding planning could be, and that they tried to accommodate everyone. Celeste hummed, unconvinced, and studied me a moment longer, as if reading something unspoken. I did not yet understand what that meant, but I held her gaze. Odessa linked her arm through my mother's and redirected the conversation, suggesting they check on the cake, and just like that, I was dismissed. The ballroom buzzed with laughter, music, and clinking glasses, a celebration I was not truly part of. I was present, but unwelcome. I walked away, my heart pounding, not toward my assigned table, and not toward the hallway. I looked down at the place card in my hand, my name written in elegant cursive. I turned it once, then again, before gently setting it on a nearby tray. If they believed I would quietly accept this, they did not know me at all. I stood in the dim hallway, my back against the cold wall, fingers gripping the edge of my dress. Laughter, music, and celebration drifting from the grand ballroom, a world that had never truly included me. The isolation was familiar, but the humiliation cut deeper, sharp and precise, like reopening an old wound. This was no accident. They wanted me to feel small, insignificant, and they succeeded. The ache in my chest came not only from this moment, but from years of being second best, an afterthought. My thoughts drifted backward, pulling me into memory, 3 years earlier. I was in my parents' house, searching through my old bedroom. I had not been home in a long time, and it showed. Dust settled in the corners, books untouched, photographs frozen in time. High school, college, everything before I stopped trying. I was not looking for anything specific, only passing time while my mother prepared another elaborate dinner for Odessa's visit. It was always about Odessa. And then I noticed it, a small leather notebook peeking from my mother's nightstand. I almost did not open it, but something about the way it was hidden away, as if it were important, as if it mattered, made me reach for it. Inside were pages and pages of carefully recorded memories, notes, and thoughts, all about Odessa, her birthdays, her achievements, her struggles, her favorite foods, the names of her childhood friends, even lists of gifts she loved and the ones she only pretended to like to be polite. I turned page after page, searching for something, anything about me. There was nothing. Not a single mention, not a single thought, not a single note about her other daughter. It was as if I never existed. I remember standing there, gripping the notebook so tightly my hands ached. A lifetime of doubt suddenly confirmed in ink. When my mother walked in, she barely reacted, saying I had always been independent and that she never had to worry about me the way she did Odessa. As if that were a compliment, as if it erased years of quiet neglect. She had documented everything about Odessa, yet not one single thought about me was worth writing down. That was the moment I knew I had always been alone in this family. The present crashes back around me, the sound of Odessa's laughter cutting through the air like a blade. The weight of that notebook still presses against my chest, even now. I glance toward my assigned table, the insult of it, the pettiness, the cruelty. If they wanted to remind me of my place, message received. I inhale sharply, pushing myself away from the wall. If my family had already decided I did not belong, maybe it was time to act like it. I step toward the ballroom, my thoughts racing. But before I reach the doorway, I see Dominic standing off to the side near the bar, a glass of whiskey in his hand, untouched, his eyes not moving with the ease of a newly married man, but fixed on something or someone with unmistakable hesitation. And then they land on me. He exhales slowly before leaving the counter and walking toward me. Sloan, his voice is even, but there is something beneath it. I raise an eyebrow. Dominic? For a moment, neither of us speaks. The wedding continues around us, people drinking, laughing, celebrating, a party moving forward while its foundation quietly rots. Dominic shifts, rolling the whiskey glass in his palm before glancing over his shoulder toward the far side of the room where Odessa holds court, basking in her own reflection. When he looks back at me, his jaw tightens. There it is again, that hesitation, that doubt. "Sloane," he begins, his voice lower now. "I know we have not talked much, but can I ask you something?" I tilt my head. "That depends. Is this polite wedding conversation or something else?" He does not smile or pretend, and something inside me shifts. Dominic sighs, rubbing his temple like he already regrets asking. "Does your sister ever talk about me differently when I'm not around?" There it is, the single question, the moment when reality cracks through whatever illusion Odessa has been feeding him. For a brief second, I consider lying, maybe out of misplaced protection, maybe because revealing the truth here is dangerous. But then I remember my seat assignment, Odessa's smirk, my mother's dismissal, and who Odessa truly is. I glance at his whiskey glass. "You should probably take a sip of that first." Dominic stiffens, then lifts the glass and drains it. "Dominic," I say carefully, "I do not know Odessa as well as you think you do." His jaw tightens. "I was afraid of that." Silence settles between us, thick and suffocating. "She has been acting different," he finally admits, his voice quieter now, edged with frustration and control. "There are things she does not want me to see." My stomach twists, because of course there are. Before I can respond, Celeste approaches, her expression unreadable, but her eyes sharp and calculating. Odessa's new mother-in-law, the only woman in the room with more power than her. Celeste stops in front of Dominic, glancing briefly at me before focusing on him. "Darling," she says smoothly, "I think you should see this." She holds out her phone. Dominic takes it hesitantly, scrolling as his expression shifts from confusion to realization, and then to something far worse. Odessa's messages to friends, to her stylist, to people who should never have known what was in her heart. And what was there was cold and rotten. The messages are brutal, petty, and cruel. Odessa mocking Celeste, calling her controlling and overbearing, a rich old woman meant only to write checks and stay out of her life. Odessa writing about Dominic, about how she's training him to be the husband she wants, how he will do whatever she says because he's desperate to prove he's nothing like his father. And then the worst one, Odessa laughing about how easy this marriage will be because Dominic's family has money and all she has to do is play her role until she no longer has to. Dominic tightens his grip on the phone. Celeste watches him closely. "Your wife-to-be does not merely dislike me, Dominic." She pauses, her voice calm and sharp as glass. "She has been planning to control you since the beginning." Dominic sways slightly, as if the floor beneath him has fractured. I say nothing, because this moment belongs to him. I only watch as doubt hardens into anger. The wedding continues, but the foundation beneath it is already splitting. Though the ceremony still moves forward, what happens next behind closed doors will change everything. We are guided into a private lounge, the air heavy with tension that makes your skin crawl. Odessa stands in the center, perfectly composed, or pretending to be. Celeste positions herself near the entrance, arms crossed, lips pressed into a thin, unreadable line. Dominic lingers by the bar, his whiskey untouched, his posture rigid. Vivian, of course, speaks first, already smoothing, already excusing, calling it all a misunderstanding with a forced smile. Emotions are high, it's a wedding after all. Let us not turn a little family tension into something bigger. Celeste cuts her off. "Family tension?" she repeats, eyes narrowing. "Vivian, this is not tension. This is a revelation." Odessa scoffs, crossing her arms over her designer gown. "You dragged us in here for this?" She turns to Dominic, her voice coated in sweetness. "Baby, tell me you don't actually believe this nonsense." Dominic does not answer. He doesn't even look at her. Vivian reaches for his arm, her voice softer now.
Dominic, sweetheart, you have to understand, Odessa has been under a stress. Planning a wedding is exhausting. People say things they don't mean.
Celeste's lips curls, slightly amused, because it seems she meant every word she said about controlling him. Odessa's jaw tightens, but before she can respond, Harold speaks, and the entire room stills. Vivian, stop. The word is quiet, but it lands like a gunshot. My mother turns, blinking, as if shocked to be interrupted. My father is not a man who raises his voice, not a man who steps in, but tonight something shifts. You have protected Odessa her entire life, he says, his voice heavy, tired with something I cannot name. And look what it has turned her into. Odessa gasps, real shock flashing across her face. Dad, you are taking her side? Harold ignores her and turns to me instead. Sloane has been right all along. The words echo in my ears, stealing my breath. My mother physically recoils. For the first time in my life, my father is choosing me. Vivian shakes her head, laughing nervously like this must be some mistake. Harold, do not be ridiculous. Odessa is a liar. Dominic speaks before he realizes it, his voice raw like a man waking up beside a stranger. Odessa pales. Excuse me? I step forward, slowly, locking eyes with my mother. She needs to understand this moment. She needs to feel its weight. If you keep covering for her, I say quietly, you will lose more than just me, Mom. For the first time, Vivian falters. Odessa sees it, and panic flashes across her face, her voice sharp, desperation slipping through. You are all turning against me because of her? Celeste exhales slowly, lifts her glass, and ends it. We are turning against you because we finally see you for what you are. The words strike like a slap. Odessa's mouth opens, then closes. She turns to Dominic, her last grasp at control, her voice shaking as she reaches for him. You do not believe them, do you? Dominic does not answer, and that silence seals her fate. Odessa's breathing stutters, panic spilling over, and then she lunges forward, fury twisting her features. But this time, I do not retreat. Odessa's hand swings toward me, fast, reckless, but I do not flinch. I do not need to. The difference is clear now. I am not afraid anymore. Odessa is the one unraveling, and everyone in the room sees it. Her palm slices through the air, anger, desperation colliding, but before it reaches me, Celeste steps between us. Odessa crashes into her, stumbling back, gasping, undone by her own force and momentum, carrying her straight into the ballroom entrance. And suddenly, there is no hiding. The music stops, conversations die, every guest turns toward the scene unfolding at the doorway. Odessa, the perfect bride, the golden child, the one who always controlled the narrative, stands there, disheveled and breathless, her rage twisting her features into something unrecognizable. She blinks, realizing too late that this is no longer a private confrontation, but a public collapse. A murmur ripples through the ballroom guests, whispers, eyes widen, some trade glances, while others stare openly. Dominic remains near the bar, silent, simply watching. Odessa spins toward him, desperate. You are my husband, her voice shrill and shaking. You have to stand by me. Dominic exhales slowly, the exhaustion on his face impossible to miss. I don't think I ever truly knew you. The words strike like the final nail in her coffin. Odessa staggers, her breath hitching as she shakes her head violently. No, you don't mean that. You love me. But Dominic's eyes are empty now, not angry, not disappointed, just finished. Then, without another word, he reaches into his jacket and pulls out a small envelope. My breath catches. I already know what it is, and so does Odessa. Her face drains of color. What is that? Dominic does not blink. Annulment. A collective gasp tears through the room. Even I feel the weight of it, the finality, the death of the perfect image she's spent years constructing. Odessa's hands tremble as she stares at the envelope. What, you had this prepared? Celeste steps forward, arms crossed, her voice cold. Of course he did. Odessa's lips part, but no sound comes. And then Celeste delivers the final blow. You were never going to be part of this family. Odessa reels, her world unraveling, but she is not finished yet. She may have lost her marriage, but she still has one weapon left: revenge. Her chest rises and falls in quick, uneven breaths, her hair slightly disordered, her hands shaking at her sides, but she refuses to accept the end.
She turns sharply to our mother. "Mom," she pleads, her voice softer now, carefully fragile. "You know this is not true. You know they are trying to ruin me." Vivian hesitates, as
Most she always does. She has spent a lifetime fixing Odessa's mistakes, excusing her behavior, smoothing the damage. My mother's lips part, her eyes flicking between her two daughters, the one she always protected and the one she always dismissed. "Odessa," she begins, uncertain. Odessa seizes the opening, grabbing Vivian's hand and pressing it to her chest in a practiced performance. "Mom, you know me. You know I love Dominic. I would never—" Dominic cuts in, his voice cold, final. He holds a stack of papers stapled at the top, his face unreadable, his grip tight. Odessa freezes. Celeste steps forward, her expression sharp. "Go on, Dominic. Read it." Dominic's jaw tightens. Then, in a calm, measured voice, he speaks. "Odessa Hathaway filed an inquiry with a divorce attorney 1 month before the wedding." A sharp gasp erupts from the guests still gathered in the ballroom. My stomach drops, not from shock, but from the realization that even I did not expect it to be this damning. Dominic continues, unwavering. "You were planning to leave me the moment you gained access to my money." The paper trembles in his hand, but his voice does not. Odessa's face drains. "That is not—" Celeste laughs softly, unimpressed. "Do not bother. That is a legal document, the kind that does not lie." Odessa's confidence fractures completely. The room slips beyond her control. Dominic steps closer. "Was any of it ever real, Odessa?" His voice stripped of anger, weighed down by exhaustion. "Did you ever love me, or was I just another accessory?" Odessa's lips quiver. Her eyes dart around, searching for support. And then, driven by sheer instinct, she turns on me. "This is all your fault," she snaps, her voice rising, cracking. "You have always been jealous of me." The same tired accusation, but this time it does nothing. For the first time, I do not care. I do not argue, I do not engage. I simply meet her gaze and say, "No, Odessa, this is not my fault." She flinches. "This is who you have always been." Her breath stutters as I step forward, my voice steady, controlled. "You manipulate, you lie, you take, and when it collapses, you blame everyone else." Vivian gasps softly, as if hearing the truth for the first time. Odessa shakes her head violently. "No, Mom, tell her she is wrong." But Vivian does not move. She only stares. And that silence wounds deeper than words. Odessa stumbles back, realization setting in. She looks around the room, searching for someone to defend her, and for the first time, no one does. The weight of her actions settles, and she understands there is nowhere left to stand. Her breathing turns ragged, her face pale under the lights. She scans the room again, but no one meets her eyes. The guests remain silent. Some whisper, others look away. Even Vivian, her strongest defender, says nothing. Odessa's laugh breaks through, bitter, hollow, not victorious, but refusing to accept defeat. "You all think you're better than me," she snarls. "Just wait. None of you will be anything without me." No one responds. No one rushes to deny it. She shakes her head as if trying to reshape reality. And then our eyes meet. I step forward, not from cruelty, not from pity, but because she needs to hear this. "You spent your entire life making sure I felt invisible," I say, calmly, steadily. "But look around, Odessa." I watch her throat move as her breath catches. "You are the one no one sees anymore." She blinks, and for a brief moment, something inside her fractures. Then, just as quickly, she forces it back down. She steps away, shaking her head, laughing again, but the sound is empty. "No, you do not get to do this," she spits. "You do not get to be the hero of this story." I breathe out slowly. She still does not understand. "This is not a story, Odessa. This is simply the truth." Her mouth opens, but no words come. She turns to our mother. Vivian's arms are wrapped tightly around herself, her lips parted, her expression broken. Tears fill her eyes, not for Odessa, not for me, but for what she allowed, for what she helped create. She looks at me, truly looks at me for the first time in years, and I know she finally sees it, the damage, the choices, the consequences, but it is too late. I will not stay for the aftermath. I take a breath, straighten my shoulders, and turn toward the exit. No speeches, no final look, just a quiet, certain decision. I walk out,
pushing through the heavy ballroom doors into the cool night air. The cold rushes into my lungs, sharp, clean, and grounding. As I stand there, looking out at the city lights stretching beyond the courtyard, I feel it. A beginning, waiting beyond those doors. The past still lingers, but I have learned that not every ending needs closure. A week has passed since the wedding. A week since I walked away and left them frozen, unsure what to do without me playing my role. The fallout came quickly. I glance at my phone, scrolling through missed calls and unread messages, most from my mother, some apologetic, some defensive. Vivian Hathaway does not know how to lose. She does not know how to exist in a world where I am no longer chasing her approval. Odessa remains silent. No posts, no captions, no polished illusion of perfection. She vanished from view like a fallen queen, erased from history. The family group chat still buzzes, full of updates, jokes, shared memories, just without me. I should feel the ache of exclusion, but I don't. For the first time, I understand I never needed to belong to something that never truly included me. The call comes later that night. I let it ring before answering. Vivian's voice is uncertain. "I know I made mistakes," she says, as if that explains everything. I say nothing. She exhales shakily. "I just don't know how to fix this." I close my eyes, leaning back against the couch. There is nothing to fix. Some wounds do not heal. Some are not meant to. But I do not say it. She waits, hoping I will tell her what to do, how to undo it, but I will not. And eventually, she understands. "I just wanted you to know," she whispers, before the call ends. Later, I receive another message, not a voicemail, not a plea, an invitation to dinner, a quiet attempt at peace. For the first time, I consider refusing, not from anger, not from resentment, but because I no longer need their validation. I stare at the message and realize this is no longer about them choosing me, it's about me choosing myself. I move through my apartment, stopping by the small bookshelf near the window. Old photographs sit there, moments of a life I once wanted so badly to belong to. I pick one up, a holiday photo from years ago. Odessa at the center, glowing, Vivian beside her, hand resting proudly on her shoulder, and me at the edge, barely there. I place it back and leave it behind. Instead, I step to the window, breathing in the quiet night. The city stretches before me, endless, alive, full of possibility, and for the first time, I feel it, freedom. Before this story ends, remember this: family is not blood, it's respect. It's knowing your value and refusing to beg for space at a table that was never meant for you. For too long, I believed love had to be earned, that silence, sacrifice, patience would make them see me. But the truth is, sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away. Not every story ends with closure. Not every wound heals with an apology. And that's okay, because real healing, real strength begins when you choose yourself. So let me ask you, have you ever walked away to protect your peace? Have you learned that staying would cost you more than leaving ever could? If this story resonated with you, share your experience. Tell me where you're watching from, and if you want more stories like this, raw, honest, and real, subscribe because more are coming. Thank you for watching, and remember, choosing yourself is not selfish, it's survival.